Ladies and gentlemen, my name is János Karsai from University of Szeged. In this short video, I would like to present some examples in which I demonstrate how I use the Wolfram Notebook Assistant in my scientific and teaching work. You know, as the Wolfram distributor, SciExperts continuously gives professional support for partners. We regularly organize trainings. The next one will be held in this October. We can assist in teaching and professional developments using Mathematica. And that's why we have started video series on applications of Mathematica. Now we will give you some examples confirming that the Wolfram Notebook Assistant is revolutionarily useful for intuitive professionals who hardly know Mathematica, beginner Mathematica users, and also Mathematica gurus. What is the problem? The Wolfram Mathematica is a very big system now. It is impossible to know all the fields and computations included in it. Impossible to follow the developments and wide functionalities in the new versions, even if you are a Mathematica guru. Sometimes even Stephen Wolfram forgets the things he can do. And if you just use Mathematica in your teaching everyday work, the problem is even more harder. We need help. Documentation Center and Wolfram Alpha give standard answers of your general and particular questions, but you have to find the solutions for your scientific problems by yourself. You have to do the coding completely of your problem based on the examples given in the documentation. We may need more special AI-based personalized assistance. This is available in Wolfram Mathematica now. Since version 13, different AI services were included, chat cells, chat notebooks, but the newest service in version 14, Notebook Assistant and LLM Kit, is available. Why the Notebook Assistant is revolutionarily different? Here, personalized free text conversation and not only free text questions are possible. The assistant directly helps you in developing your project, not only at help level. It explains the recommended solution and emphasizes the tools used. No other external AI service subscription is needed. Before considering complicated examples, let's consider an elementary high school problem in which we compare the usage of the Documentation Center, the Wolfram Alpha, and the Notebook Assistant. Look at it. The problem is simple. Plot the function x squared minus 4x plus 1. What are the zeros and the critical points? Before doing anything, I can open the Documentation Center, or I can directly call the Documentation Center elements like the plot. Using the examples in the help, I can write my own code. But I need, for this simple problem, I need the plot of the function, solving an equation and the derivative. And after that we are able to write the code of this solution, defining the function, plotting the function, finding the zeros, the critical points, and showing them together. It's pretty nice, but it's not simple. Now let's consider Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha doesn't understand this word, this sentence. Only the elements we can ask, but doesn't give me the code how to write everything in Mathematica. Alpha can plot the function, can find the zeros, and also can give me the critical points, but doesn't give me the code. Now let's try to work with the Notebook Assistant. I write the complete sentence, plot the function, what are the zeros and critical points. The assistant gave me the answer, plotted the function, gave me the zeros, then the critical points, but didn't give me any code. I am interested in the code. Look at that. That's here. I can insert to my notebook and run it. That's pretty much I did. But I need the points also in the graph. I did it, run it, look at that, and this is pretty much the same I did. I observed it. You mainly use my code. What would be your code without using mine? That's what I received. A new code. Assistant wrote me, let me provide you with an alternative version of the code that achieves the same result without directly using your previous code. I can do it. Insert evaluate. Something is wrong because the background of the plot is pink and we have an error message. I don't like it. I noticed something is wrong. Assistant realized that something is wrong and corrected. This is the result. That is pretty much the same I did before, but I didn't have to write any code now. And now we can consider more complicated examples. The next one is an improvement of the first example. This is the dynamic visualization problem. Also using a high school mathematical problem, and this is a dynamic visualization. Have a look at it. Now we use the notebook assistant only. The problem one generalized is that consider the more general quadratic function a times x minus p squared plus q. Plot the function, find and draw the zeros and the critical points, dynamically changing the parameters, and plot this function together with the original function x squared. I copied this sentence and sent it to the notebook assistant. I got the result, wrote the steps, and gave me a code. That's the result. Look at that. I can change the parameters. That's pretty. I can see the zeros and the critical point. I can see the original parabola. There is only one problem, that if there are no roots, the background is pink, and that's an error in the code. And also I would like to see what is the translation vector by which I receive the new function from the original parabola. Let's continue the discussion. I said, can you draw the translation vector PQ? I did it step by step. Look at it. The translation vector is drawn. That's pretty. But the plotting error still exists. There are some discussions, several steps to correct this error, but the final step is, I show you, that's correct. Plotting the functions without any error based on the discussions with Mathematica and the notebook assistant, I could find a nice result. I hope you like it. Consider the next problem. Do the same for the more general transcendental function e to negative x minus e to negative pi times x. Plot it, find the places where it takes a given value and critical points. Now the question to the notebook assistant is the same. I gave a particular value for the function, that's 1 over 5, and I marked the points and the value as well. Look at it. I got the result, explanations of course, and that's the result. I got the function, the solutions. My observations are simply that too many labels I have, and I don't need the negative parts of the coordinate system, because the positive independent variable and the positive values are interesting only for this function. That's why I continued the discussion. I do not need the negative side. And I need a dynamic figure in which 1 over 5 is replaced by a dynamically given value. That's a more complicated question. Of course, I can do it with manipulate. If you don't know what manipulate is, you have to look after it in the documentation center and try to run it. It's pretty nice. The only problem, if the value is too big, there is no solution. In that case, I get an error message. I would like to avoid it. My next question is, can you mark the line y equal to c? C should not be larger than the maximum of the function, and also adjust the plot range. Look at it. Somehow it's wrong. I said that the max value is wrong. Now it looks better. So basically the figure is correct. I have too many labels and negative y range, and I need a little bit bigger range for the graph. So, etc., etc. I have more questions, and the final result of the discussion will be pretty nice. Look at it. That's what I obtained. And I needed some labeling corrections. They are not important, just technical stuff. But now I obtained, after my long discussion, a very nice figure for solving this expression. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a little bit more complicated example. Actually, two more examples in which the technical tools are not trivial at all, but after discussions we could obtain a nice result. So now let's consider some conclusions. We can see that the Notebook Assistant is really revolutionarily different from the Documentation Center and the Wolfram Alpha. It offers a real conversation on your particular problem. You can modify, improve the problem and the question. It explains the recommended solution and emphasizes the tools used. The result is not deterministic. Different answers may be given next time. It can make correction of the errors or improves the formal results. It knows your works in the notebook. With minor improvements and modifications, you can finalize the project. You can learn the details of the language meanwhile. And what is important also, that Assistant means a new service, but doesn't replace neither the documentation or the Wolfram Alpha. And finally, do not forget, the Notebook Assistant doesn't replace you. You give the problem, you know the scientific field. The Notebook Assistant is your assistant only. It may give a wrong answer that you have to correct. You must be able to talk to the Notebook Assistant. You have to understand what it says. Hence, you have to know Mathematica and the Wolfram language. Hopefully I could help a little bit. Thank you for watching me.